Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Virginia Minority Business Development Agency's Business Center's monthly webinar. Today, we've got an outstanding cast for you, and we look forward to hearing what they have to say as they share what their agency's needs are and what their mission and their needs are. I'd like to begin again by, on behalf of Ms. Sharon Pender, the president and CEO of the Capital Region Minority Supply Development Council, who is the operator of the center on behalf of the Department of Commerce and their Minority Business Development Agency Bureau that has the responsibility to work with minority businesses in 5 ethnic categories: African American, Asian Americans, which include Asian Indians and Pacific Islanders, Hispanic Americans, Native Americans, which include the Native tribal nations, and the Alaskan natives, to include, and last but not least, Hasidic Jewish population. We work with companies that have $500,000 in revenue, which is not all set in stone. I like to tell people it depends on where you are along that glide path where you're going. And our door is open to talk to anyone that wants to find out information about the center and what our mission profile is. You know, I often forget this, but I want to thank my team that put this together. Webinars are led by Alice Williams and Ms. Claudia Barrera, and our behind the scene team, Graybo, with their outstanding production that they do for us, Shauna, and he's just already had a brain cramp, and Wayne, who actually can cut me on and off when he decides to do so. But today we're talking about doing business with 2 federal agencies that belong to the Department of Defense, and that is the Aviation and Missile Command out of Huntsville, Alabama, and the Missile Defense Agency, which is actually headquartered out of Fort Belvoir, but they have their major operation down in Huntsville. And today, I am pleased to be able to have these 2 esteemed colleagues, Ms. Deborah Wood, who is the Assistant Director of the Office of Small Business Programs at the what we call AMCOM, the U.S. Army Aviation and Missile Command. You know how the Army and DOD, we love those acronyms. And then Mr. Gerald Sullivan, who is the Acting Director of Small Business for the U.S. Missile Defense Command. And I'll just share a little bit about each one of them before we get into the meat of the thing. Ms. Wood, again, is the Assistant Director at AMCOM, and she is the Principal Advisor to their Commanding General, who's responsible for all things associated with aviation and missiles on behalf of the Army, and some sister service requirements that they do. She works with small business programs and reaches out. She's the advocate, is the simplest way to say it, in order to help small businesses work in the AMCOM arena. And, you know, having come out of that world, I can tell you that they do the best they can trying to represent us as we work with both the agencies and primes as far as small businesses getting a fair opportunity in order to do business with the federal government. And when I say small, that's inclusive of minority businesses, which is even more so today after the president signed the the law in November that codified MBDA into law. Okay, and so look forward to hearing Ms. Wood. And our second guest is Mr. Gerald Sullivan. He's the Acting Director and the Deputy Director for the Small Business Programs at MDA. And Gerald works with his program offices across MDA to ensure that he advocates for small businesses in order to put them as a part of what they do. A lot of what MDA does centers around very large companies, including the big 6 in the defense world, but they have a lot of support that can be garnered using small businesses, and Gerald can share that with us. He'll be able to share that with us. Again, he also located in Huntsville. So I would ask both of my esteemed colleagues to come on camera. Actually, Ms. Wood will be talking to us. You know how Murphy is. Murphy's still alive and well no matter where you go. Everything was green yesterday when we prepared for this. And I think it was just, maybe it was Tuesday. Days are running together. And today the Gremlins has Ms. Woods down in Huntsville as she tried about 3 different systems. Technology, don't you just love it, right? But she is, you'll hear her voice. So we won't miss what she has to say. Okay. So Gerald, great to see you again. And Deborah, heard you in the practice session. Great to have you on. So we'll get started with a few questions. But before we do that, I'd like you to start, Deborah, and tell us a little bit about AMCOM, your mission and what you all do in order to support the soldiers, sailors, airmen, and Marines that keep our freedom alive.
Thank you, sir. It's an honor to be with you all today, and I apologize again for my technical issues. But as Mr. Marks has already stated, AMCOM is actually headquartered at Redstone Arsenal, which is in Huntsville, Alabama, and it is a life cycle management command that procures missile and aviation weapon systems from the beginning of those systems through the end of those weapon systems. The majority of those procurements are production, logistics, engineering, and training, and those requirements are, the majority of those requirements are sole source because the original equipment manufacturers are the ones that actually have those requirements. So just in case you're not familiar with who the OEMs are for AMCOM requirements, just a few of them are Boeing, Aerojet, Lockheed Martin, Sikorsky, General Atomics, DynCorp, Northrop Grumman, and Raytheon. And these systems are procured by U.S. and FMS customers. These requirements help keep our soldiers safe. So that's, in a nutshell, pretty much, that's what the U.S. Army Aviation and Missile Command procures. There are a lot of other requirements that go into these programs, but due to the fact that the majority of them are sole sourced, those requirements are actually probably going to be subcontracting opportunities with the OEMs. And if you're not familiar with Redstone, our AMCOM ombudsman, he hosts an annual Team Redstone advanced planning briefings to industry. And if you're not familiar with the Team Redstone APBI, it is a 3-day event where the Redstone tenants and other organizations present a 3 to 5 year acquisition forecast. There's also a question and answer session at the conclusion of each of those briefs. Some of the organizations include the FBI, NASA, MDA, GSA, Army Materiel Command, Program Executive Office, or PEO Aviation, PEO Missiles and Space, the Space and Missile Defense Command, Letterkenny Army Depot, Corpus Christi Army Depot, AMCOM Logistics Center, and Army Contracting Command, Redstone. There are so many others that participate in this event. Day 2 of the APBI is dedicated to small businesses. During that event, we do offer matchmaking sessions. They take place in the afternoon of that event. There is a registration fee to attend. There is no registration fee to attend the event. A registration link will be provided on sam.gov for this event, and it will, and there will also be another registration link for the matchmaking sessions. So this event allows you to communicate or do networking with agencies other than AMCOM that are located within the Huntsville area. So if you are interested in getting into this area, that would be a great networking opportunity for you all to attend. The briefers will post their charts at the end of the APBI on the registration link. So you will have availability to receive those briefings. So that way you can have that information, do your research on it, and reach out to those POCs, or you can actually reach out to the AMCOM Office of Small Business Programs if you have questions regarding those events. Regarding those briefings. The fiscal year 20 through 22 APBIs have been conducted virtually due to the pandemic, but all of them were held in March. So if you don't remember when the APBI will be, all you have to do is reach out to the AMCOM Office of Small Business Programs, and we will provide information to you regarding the registration link. We'll let you know when it's open and when you will be able to go in and register for the event. We ask that you register early for the matchmaking sessions if you're interested in those, because those slots fill up very quickly. The matchmaking sessions are actually conducted by the government as well as some of the original equipment manufacturers that do business with AMCOM. So if you need additional information regarding AMCOM headquarters, you should have received a fact sheet regarding that information. But if you did not receive that fact sheet, please let us know, and we will be sure that you get a copy of that fact sheet so that you can have it and have opportunities to do additional research on AMCOM.
I think, thanks, Deborah. I think the fact sheet actually be hung in the, as part of, if I'm not mistaken, Claudia has attached that to this, this webinar. But if not, all the handouts that you all have provided will be provided to all those folks that have registered, because we have their email addresses. So at this time, Gerald, if you would share with us the MDA story, please.
We'll be delighted to do so. Thank you, Mr. Marks, for inviting MDA to participate in your event today. And as Mr. Marks said, I am the acting director of the MDA Office of Small Business Programs. And I would like to share my screen real quick with the audience. Hopefully you can see it. Is that right? Can you see it? Yes, okay, so this is MDA's homepage, and as you can see in the top left area of the screen, our mission is to develop and deploy a layered missile defense system to defend the United States, its deployed forces, allies, and friends from missiles in all phases of flight. So it's a very short, brief mission statement, but I can tell you it packs a lot into that. And let's focus on 2 or 3 words here to give you an example of what I mean. So we are responsible for developing a missile defense system. That equates to a lot of research and development, because here at the Missile Defense Agency, we're trying to do things that have never been done before, such as the mission really is centered around intercepting missiles in outer space. A lot of people use the analogy of it's like hitting a bullet with another bullet. So that's an example of things that have never been done before. We're trying to do that at MDA. And that's what that word development gets at. It talks about the unprecedented research and development required to accomplish that mission. When you look at the word deploy, we are We've been developing these systems probably for more than 30, 40 years. If you remember back in the 80s, it started out as the, what was it called? I forgot what it was, but it was under the Ronald Reagan years when we had the Space-Based Initiative. And over those decades, we have made a lot of progress in research and engineering and developing these systems. So now we're at the point where we are deploying these systems. We're building them, we're turning them over, we're developing government funds, and we are turning them over to the military services. So that's where the deployment comes in. We are deploying these systems to the field for Army, Navy, and Air Force use, and they are responsible for, and in many cases, they're responsible for operating these weapon systems. There are some systems that we develop, but MDA maintains operational responsibility for them. But even when those systems are fielded, we still provide the configuration control and all the upgrades necessary for those systems that are fielded. So when we talk about layered missile defense, layered, that means just multiple opportunities to intercept a missile. You can have an opportunity to intercept a missile in the ascent phase, in the mid-course phase when these missiles are flying through space, and as they re-enter the atmosphere and they are getting close to the target, there's another opportunity to intercept them. Probably the least preferred opportunity to intercept them. So I just wanted to give you that overview of what our mission is, to let you understand how complex this is, what's all involved, to give you some ideas of where your company may fit into all of this. Also wanted to take you to this page, make sure you know how to get back to it. You can find opportunities on this page under the Business Opportunities tab. You scroll down, you click on the Office of Small Business Programs, and that'll lead you to a plethora of information about the Small Business Office, and you can find opportunities through this website. It also helps you understand our Small Business Office and how we work to help small businesses find opportunities to participate in our acquisitions. If you look on the page here at the second link, the second active link here, it talks about our OSBT quarterly newsletter. It's a PDF. You can click on that and download it to your computer. It's a quarterly newsletter. Next quarter, first quarter, we'll be updating this, and that's fiscal year. So you can see me, the newest addition to our office. You can see our goals, what our small business goals are, how we performed against those goals in FY 21, and what the goals are for 22 and our current performance. Like I said, it's quarterly goal. Right now, our small business goal, we are at 8%. So we are just 1% point away from meeting that. We got 30 days, or more than 30. We got a month and a half to achieve those small business goals there. So what I really wanted to show you is a variety of requirements that we post in here. It is a snapshot in time. So don't pay a lot of attention to the dates over there on the right, because, you know, when we developed this newsletter at the beginning of the quarter, things continue to change. We post this on our website, but acquisition planning doesn't stop. Things change. So that's why we put the caveat at the bottom to check SAM.gov and GSA eBuy for new opportunities and updates. But this is a great newsletter for giving you examples of what we buy. And even if the dates to the right are expired, that doesn't mean this is not still a valid requirement that we are going to be putting on the contract. You can see some of the upcoming events, proposals that we have. These two, or all three of these, offer services. Agency operations, cyber threat hunting, that's actually posted on GSA right now. It's a services stable, veteran-owned small business set aside, and we're not soliciting any more quotes for that. But those who are on the applicable HACCIN, they've been notified. Those service stable veteran companies have been notified, and they are putting their proposals together for submitting to NDA. I'd like to show you this as a list of contracts, that we have awarded. So these are a variety of services contracts, a variety of technical engineering, advisory, management, support services. So through these contract vehicles, we provide 60% of the services MBA relies on to do research and development, the fielding, the deployment, and the sustainment operations and upgrade of the weapon systems. Those 30 requirements, we call these legacy contracts. You can see we started awarding those in 2016 all the way through 2018. These are recurring requirements. These 30 requirements, we're recompeting them right now. And what you see on the next 2 pages are the recompete of those 30 contracts there. So this is the recompete phase. We've awarded a lot of these already. There's still more to award. Everything you see in the green boxes, or it says SAP for small business, everything you see in the blue boxes are for others. So just wanted to let you know the kind of information you could find in this outreach material that we have, which is our quarterly newsletter, tells you about our outreach program, checklist for doing business with MDA, a lot of information about our mentor protege program and what you can do to get involved with MDA through a mentor protege agreement. And probably more importantly is this area here. I wanted to give you a snapshot of who our prime contractors are. Typically, these are the prime contractors that win most of the acquisitions in MBA. 80% of our acquisition dollars goes to large business prime. So if a small business wants to participate in MBA acquisition, more than likely that opportunity is going to come through subcontracting. So I wanted to show you this page to give you an idea of who those larger businesses are. And if you ever get an opportunity to meet with them to talk about your capabilities and how you can support MBA, these are some of the contractors, prime contractors you should be targeting. And this is our staff. Kevin Carr, he has retired. He's no longer with us, but this is our staff, and you can see what they are responsible for within MBA Small Business Office and how they can help you. And this page right here gives you a lot of information, and it gives you information that you can use to contact our Small Business Office. So with that, I will stop talking, I'll stop sharing, and I will turn it back over to you, Mr. Marks.
Well, thanks, Gerald. Hey, that was outstanding. And again, a lot of great information. And obviously, folks, we have the link. And that was a nice walkthrough where a plethora of information. And as both Gerald and Deborah stated, I mean, I think it's probably more of subcontracting opportunities, which are still opportunities that when we write those contracts, and I'm saying we, speaking French, even though I've been gone about 3 years, so 4 years from the government, there are subcontracting requirements. Any contract over $700,000 must have a subcontracting plan by those primes that he showed you and that Deborah talked about, and they have to subcontract their work, and that has to be to small businesses in all the categories. So the opportunities are there, and it's to be worked, and it's part of anybody's plan as as you go forward. So appreciate both of you on providing that information. So we're going to start with Ms. Wood. We have a question for you that you can share with us. What is Express, which was formerly AMCOM Express, and how is that used, and how does one get to play on that vehicle?
Express is an acronym, actually, and the term for it is the Expedited Professional and Engineering Support Services Program. That provides operational efficiencies and improved mission readiness with overall value and flexibility to acquisitions for its customers and end user organization. Express uses a suite of blanket purchase agreements issued against General Service Administration, multiple award schedules with federal supply schedule contractors. Express consists of 4 domains, which are business and analytical, logistics, programmatic, and technical. They provide comprehensive advisory and assistance services readily available for Team Redstone. Each of the 4 domains contain large and small business prime contractors. The website contains a link to a list of the points of contact for each of the prime contractors in all 4 domains. Express conducts industry communication events quarterly, and they provide a forecast of their requirements. They provide a status of requirements that have been issued, as well as a forecast of any upcoming opportunities. The slides for past ICE events are posted on their website. If you review those slides, you will get an idea of the types of requirements that are procured by Express. There's also a link to the acquisition forecast for Express requirements, as well as templates for responses to Express requirements on their website. And if I'm not mistaken, I think the link has already been provided to you all. So that way you will be able to go in and get a lot of information regarding Express requirements. There is also a link to an industry guide on the website that provides overarching guidance on the Express program. It provides the details for each of the 4 domains, the task order competition, and other aspects of the contractual process. So after researching the Express industry guide and looking at all of the information that is actually found on that website, it's so much information in that industry guide that your questions that you have may be answered regarding Express if you actually read that guide thoroughly and, take notes. And if you have questions regarding anything that you've read in that guide, then we do have a GSA point of contact that will be able to provide additional details regarding all of the requirements for becoming a prime on Express, or becoming a team member, or doing subcontracting opportunities. She'll let you know if you need to have a GSA schedule and if you will need certain SINs in order to be able to become a team member or have subcontracting opportunities or even become a prime on Express. So if you do research those opportunities, if you look at the past event, the ICE event, slides, then you will find those requirements as well as the link to the acquisition forecast for those upcoming requirements. So if you have questions after you review all of that information, then please feel free to reach out to either the GSA point of contact, Ms. Shonda Tallman, that was provided to you, or feel free to contact the AMCOM Office of Small Business Programs. If we don't have that information, we will know who to reach out to get it, and we will make sure that you have all the knowledge that you will need in order to be on the Express program. But I keep emphasizing the industry guide because I can't emphasize enough how important that guide is on their website. There is so much information in there that you may not have very many questions after you review that guide. So I highly recommend, if you are interested in doing business with Express, to read that guide and check the acquisition forecast, look at all those requirements, and then I think most of your questions will be answered if you look at all of that information, because the link to the Express website should have been provided to you as well. So, but if you do not have that link, please let us know and we will make sure that you get it. Because I just can't emphasize enough how important that industry guide that's on that website is for those who are interested in getting access to the Express program.
Okay,
That's
thanks
all
very
I
much.
have. And back to Mark.
Okay, Yeah, in fact, that link for Express website is in the chat, as a couple of other links that have been magically appearing from the L's that are behind the scene. The MBDA links are there, along with what Deborah just talked about, in order to figure out how would I play as an MBE or as a small business, because it's definitely a contract vehicle that that's in place. And as most of us know, and I think all of us, in fact, we're in this business, the government has gone to category management, and they've got their best-in-class vehicles, and Express probably falls as one of those. But they do have on-ramping to the vehicles. We just got to do our homework. Okay, I appreciate you, Deborah. Gerald, and you may have answered part of number one already. The question was that we know you don't purchase a lot of commodities in large quantities, but do you use large prime contractors that develop, test, and integrate and fill your BMDSs for MBDA? And as an MBE looking for work with those primes, would you share the best way to do that, so to seek opportunities with your primes?
Yes, sir. I did partially answer that, but there's a lot more to it that I can share with the companies that you have online here. But I would say the first step is to contact our small business office. And I'll put an email in the chat box right here. So if you send an email to that email address, you can request a capability meeting, and we will have someone set you up with a meeting with me or someone in my office, give you a 30-minute capability meeting. And what we will do in that capability meeting is to allow you opportunity to tell us all about your company, what your core competencies are, and listen to what you can provide to support our mission. Because we want to figure out which marketplace within MBA do you fit in. Are you a small business, innovative research type company? Are you a company that just provides services like the services I showed you in our quarterly brochure? You're providing technical engineering, management, and advisory support services. Or are you an IT company that would better match with our IT capabilities and our IT infrastructure support? Or do you provide components and repair components that are products and components that are used in our weapons system? So we have to figure out which market is right for you, which one will you be more successful in. And then once we get a good idea of where to target, what market you need to target, then we'll try to take a deep dive, as deep a dive as we can within 30 minutes to try to show you where some of the upcoming activities, but acquisitions that are aligned with your core capabilities. We'll focus you on a pool of services or pool of acquisitions that we know that are coming up in support of our weapons systems. So as far as our prime contractors are concerned, you saw many of them, several of them on one of the pages in the Outlook, in the outreach pamphlet that we have, the quarterly newsletter. We do have a meeting with our prime contractors annually. It's a meeting that our prime contractors have with small businesses. And we typically call that breakfast with the primes or connecting with the primes. We do that in the winter time, November, December. This year we have a small business advocacy council, and on that advocacy council is the prime contractor, many of which are in our newsletter. And they are planning this event that we're going to have in the wintertime. And the purpose of that event is specifically to meet with small businesses who are interested in doing work with MBA, interested in being subcontractors to some of these prime contractors. Because we know, even though we put contact information for our prime contractor small business liaison in our newsletters, and you send emails to them, oftentimes they don't get back to you, probably because they're busy, or it may get caught up in their spam boxes or whatever, but a lot of times they don't get back to you. So we ask our prime contractors to take at least one period throughout the year to meet one-on-one with small businesses. And that's the objective of the meeting that of the outreach event that we have every year in November or December. So if you want to get an invitation to participate in that meeting, is tentatively scheduled December 6th or 8th. You can send an email to outreach@mda.mil. I'll put that in the text box there for you. And we will be sure to give you an invitation to register for that meeting and give you an opportunity to meet with our prime contractors. But prior to meeting with our prime contractors, you want to do the homework. And that homework is talking to the small business office, figuring out which marketplace you're in, figuring out which acquisitions that are aligned with your core capabilities. And then that'll help you connect the dots with the prime contractors. We'll help you connect the dots with the prime contractors, because we can guess with a high degree of accuracy which prime contractor is going to be interested in a particular set of acquisitions that we have coming up, be they services or product. So once we know what marketplace you're in, which prime contractors you need to be talking to, based on requirements we know they're going to be pursuing, and requirements that we know that are aligned with your company's capabilities, that'll give you, that'll put you in a good position to meet one-on-one with those prime contractors and have a very productive conversation with them. Because as you know, in those match meeting sessions, you typically have 10 to 15 minutes. So it's great if we can put you in a position, and that is the goal that we have in our small business office, whether it takes one meeting or 2 or 3 meetings throughout the year. Our goal is to get you focused on a handful of requirements that you can do as a prime contractor. And if so, that's probably going to be providing services, or if you are going to be focusing your efforts on subcontracting. Because what we like to see is, we like to see small businesses who know what the future requirements are. We know what these small businesses know specifically what they can do for each of those requirements. And when you talk to those large businesses, you can zero in on requirements you know they're going to be submitting a proposal on, and specifically what work you can do related to that requirement. And that way, you can cut through the chase, tell them specifically what you can do to help them write a strong proposal. And as Mr. Mark said earlier, our prime contractors, typically across DoD, but specifically in MDA, our prime contractors, they are, in most cases, when we award a contract to a large prime contractor, they are contractually obligated to work with small business. We have a small business utilization requirement in the statement of work, and we ask for our prime contractors to submit a small business participation plan, not a subcontracting plan. We ask them to submit a participation plan for us to evaluate. And what we tell them to put in this plan is a detailed description of their approach to using small business in the performance of that contract. And we ask them to list the small businesses by name, what type of work they're going to give to those small businesses, how much money is related to that work, and what percentage of the contract value is associated with that work. Because in that participation plan, we establish a small business utilization subcontracting requirement, which is a percentage of the total contract value. So when they write you into that plan, the participation plan, they submit their proposal, we evaluate their proposal, and if they end up winning, we tell them that if they win a contract with MDA, we're going to take the small business participation plan that they submitted with the names of the companies, the small businesses that they plan to use for subcontracting. We're going to take that participation plan. It's going to be a material part of the contract. And we're going to evaluate the prime contractor's performance on that participation plan every year. But we give them midterm feedback on their small business participation every 6 months. And they have to do semi-annual CEDAR report. So when you are a subcontractor, MDA, and a small business, the defense contractors who are primes, they are contractually obligated to do what they said they were going to do for you as a small business in their proposal. So I took the time to tell you all those details, because when you are matchmaking and one-on-one meetings with primes, I want you to be aware of this process and how we have them committed to use small businesses, because they are aggressively looking for small business, because they know at MDA we pay very close attention to their subcontracting when they win a contract for MDA.
All right. Okay. I appreciate it. I'm going to ask Alice if there's any questions in the chat that folks from the audience have generated.
Thank you, Mr. Marks. Thanks for the opportunity. We have a couple of questions. Some may refer to the organization, some may not. But the first question is from Aero Management, and he wants to know, where do we find any opportunities available for fire safety alarm systems at either agencies, if there exists? That question is for Gerald and Ms. Deborah.
Deborah, you want to go first?
Yes, sir, I will. We don't see specific requirements for that at AMCOM, but that does not mean that there won't be a requirement for it at some point. But we would just have to do a little bit of research on that particular capability to find out where it would actually fit in the AMCOM program. But typically, just for that particular requirement, we do not see that kind of capability that would be needed for the missile and aviation systems. But I haven't seen that with any of our base operations requirements either. But yeah, we would just have to do a little bit of research on that to see if we could figure out where that requirement may fit, or if there's an actual need for it at AMCOM. I hope that answers your question.
Thank you so much. I think it does. And likewise, is that the same answer for you, Mr. Sullivan?
You're on mute, Joe.
We don't have a direct requirement for that, but I wouldn't say that that is not a requirement. It may be a requirement that's embedded in some of the larger requirements that we have. For example, right now, we have a requirement on SAM.gov called Facilities Lifecycle Management, but it's on the contract that's being awarded to Parsons. Parsons is a large business. You can find Parsons' contact information in our quarterly newsletter. So when it comes to facilities management, there may be some requirements within a contract like that that requires, maintenance of fire suppression systems, maintenance, repair, and inspection of those systems. So embedded in some of our requirements, and we have quite a few facilities requirements, you may find a match with your company's core capabilities.
Right, and I would add that, and I don't know the companies everything that they offer, but if you're talking about, both of these organizations, they procure weapon systems. Ms. Woods is helicopters and missiles is what they're procuring, and MDA is, the bigger side of the house. So within those systems, there are fire suppression systems, but those are not ordered. And in my aviation days, when I was much younger, those things were not ordered individually. They kind of come through the OEM that's building that equipment. And so that's also, if your fire suppression stuff is also associated with equipment and not just facilities, then I think we got to reach out as how those OEMs, those manufacturers do business and where they get their supplies from.
Thank you, Mr. Marks. I have one more question. This question is directed to Mr. Sullivan. You gave some great information about relationships and working with the prime. Your presentation was a little muffled. So one of the questions was, did he say they help small businesses with writing proposals? I don't think you said that, but can you just explain again that relationship? And in terms of how do small businesses get introduced to these prime contractors? What are the requirements again? And do you make that introduction, or do they have to go find the primes and make that introduction themselves?
Yeah, you're right. We don't make those introductions. We meet with small businesses. We understand their core competencies. We find the right market within the MDA that's aligned with the core competencies of the small business. And then we point those small businesses to large business defense contractors who are more than likely going to be interested in fulfilling requirements. So if a requirement a small business is interested in aligns to a requirement with one or more of our prime contractors, we encourage the small business to go meet with that prime. And I said earlier that we have a meeting once a year. We, meaning MDA prime contractors, have a meeting once a year where the purpose of that meeting is to meet one-on-one with small businesses. And if you've done the homework as a small business, identifying where your market is in MDA, which future requirements MDA have that align with your capabilities and prime contractors, then doing your homework will make for a productive conversation when you meet one-on-one with prime contractors.
Okay. Thanks, Gerald, for that. And we got about 10 minutes of live time left. But what I'd like you to address, and Gerald, I think you touched on this, and I just don't remember if Deborah did. I know you conduct appointments, and you just kind of was talking a little bit about that. What do I need to do in order to get on your calendar and for a brief, and then do your program managers participate in those type of briefs? Go, Deborah. I'm sorry.
Okay, yes, sir. I had not touched on that yet because I was waiting until we reached that question. But yes, we do conduct one-on-one capability briefings. And right now, they're all still being conducted virtually since we are currently teleworking. We do ask that you submit an email request to our group email. That email address is on the AMCOM OSBP fact sheet that you all probably have access to now. We do ask that you do some research. The acquisition forecast is located on the Department of the Army OSB website because our website is still under construction, but we still wanted to make sure that small businesses know where to find our acquisition forecast. And it's not just for AMCOM requirements, it is actually for all of the major subordinate commands that fall under Army Materiel Command. So that way you can get an idea of what types of requirements are out there. So that way, as Gerald said, you can do your homework regarding requirements that are of interest to you. But because that acquisition forecast contains information for other commands, we just want to make sure that when you're doing your research, that you actually make sure that that requirement is specifically for AMCOM. We would not have information regarding any of those requirements for the other commands, but we would be able to point you in the right direction with the right point of contact. But we do ask that when you present your capabilities, that you've done some research on AMCOM as well, because we want you to know what our mission is, and we would also like for you to know what our lines of effort are, because that would add value to what your capabilities are and how they would actually fit with the AMCOM mission and our lines of effort. So right now, for example, the two lines of effort that are of most importance for AMCOM are readiness and modernization. So if your capabilities actually fit within those lines of effort, we would like for your capability brief to show how your actual capabilities can help add value to those the readiness and the modernization. And I hope I'm not confusing you by saying that, but it would be great if your capability brief was tailored to those specific areas. And that's on the AMCOM Office of Small Business Programs fact sheet that you have. It does have the NAICS codes, the top 5 NAICS codes that AMCOM uses, as well as the Department of Defense activity address codes. Those are on there as well, and you can use those DODACs in SAM.gov to narrow your search to specific AMCOM requirements. You can use those DODACs and use keywords, and that should pull up information for AMCOM requirements. For example, if you look out on SAM.gov and you find some requests for information or sources sought notices, or even a solicitation that's posted out, if you do have questions regarding those, then we'll know that you've actually done some research and you are actually interested in specific requirements and not just coming to us, speaking to us in general about what you actually do and then asking us to figure out where it fits into our program. So as Gerald said before, the meetings will be more productive if you've actually done that type of research. And once the Office of Small Business Programs knows that your capabilities actually match AMCOM requirements, then what we do is have you brief our AMCOM ombudsman. He is the one that will be able to provide the specific program manager that you would probably need to brief your capabilities to, because they do not typically sit in on the capability briefings with the Office of Small Business Programs. But he would be able to let you know which program office would best be a match for your specific capabilities. So that way he would be able to provide a schedule in order to see when they would be able to set that briefing up with that particular program office.
All right. Well, thanks, Deborah. Gerald, anything to add to that? How I get to your office? I think you talked about it some already. You may have covered it already.
Yeah, I did. I posted a link in the chat box of our outreach box. It's outreach@mda.mil. I tell you, if you don't take anything away from this meeting about MDA, take away this. Outreach@mda.mil. That's the way to contact us. If you use that email address, it's going to get you into our database. But we don't just want anybody in our database. We want companies in our database that can help us perform our mission, that can meet our requirements. So, and that's why I spent some time up front telling you about the mission, give you a little deep dive into the mission, what we do, the spaces we operate in. And if you feel your company can bring some value to that mission, reach out to us, outreach@mda.mil. That'll get you into our database, and we'll keep you abreast of anything that aligns with your profile in our database related to your NAICS codes. So we reach out to you when we have a requirement that's related to your NAICS code. We'll send you an email to tell you, hey, go take a look at SAM.gov or GSA, where this requirement is going to be, because we think there's something there you'll be interested in. And when we get you into our database, we'll invite you to meetings that we know you can benefit from, like the meeting in December, the meeting of the primes. We have a meeting We have a conference every year in May. This year, well, in next year, 2023, we're trying to move that to April. But it's an NDA small business conference, and we'll be inviting you to that conference as well.
So Gerald, look, I know we got about 5 minutes left, but succinctly, we're at the end of the year. In fact, you know, you mentioned that up front. Today is the 18th, so you got 38 days, or you don't even have 38 days anymore. You got 37 and a half, because we already passed noontime. And that's only because California folks are listening too, right? So is there any low-hanging fruit or things where you need help that folks can reach out to you? Clearly, both of you deal with primes and sole source awards, but we know in order to make your small business goals, to achieve those, you have some others, you have some opportunities that come out of it.
Yeah, so I would say, I'll take the first shot at that real quick. I would say go to sam.gov. And under federal organizations, you do a search for MDA. And that'll pull up everything that MDA is interested in putting on the contract. We have a contract out there. We have a requirement out there for HVAC systems in Hawaii. If you have the contacts in Hawaii, we need a HVAC system replaced out there. We have some requirements coming up in Alaska facilities. Maintenance, we're converting a conference room to admin office space. So if you have engineering, construction remodeling type of skills, that may be an opportunity for you. But I would say look at some of the Schedule 70, the GSA Schedule 70, and OASIS. Sometimes we use the best in class contracts.
Right. Okay. Understood. All right. Ms. Wood?
Yes, sir. Excuse me. Hours are typically at the end of year. We have more IT requirements that we're trying to get on contract, or hardware requirements.
Right. Okay.
You can visit. Okay.
No, go ahead.
Oh, okay. I thought you were getting me to wrap it up.
No.
You can visit the Army. You can visit the Army Chess website, and
Okay.
I did not provide that link, but I will provide that to you, so that way you can get it out to everyone. But that's where you will find our hardware and software requirements that are critical for the end of the fiscal year.
Understood. Okay. Well, I'm familiar with chess, and that's one of those big vehicles that the Army has, and you kind of got to be on there. But you might be able to get a subcontract opportunity for those guys that got a provider that are on the vehicle, and they have a vehicle, but they don't have all the capacity that they need. And I will share that when we talk about getting those appointments, it is really essential that homework is done, because you don't want to waste that opportunity, because it's not just about a capability brief. It's about going in and being able to convince that here, the capability that we have add value to what you're doing, and here's how we can help you achieve what you want to achieve. And that's what program managers want to hear, help them solve problems. Because I mean, they can list the capability briefs all day, but it's about who can help them solve a problem. We definitely got to do that homework. Alice, there was another question. If Mr. Colton, I think Walker, is still on, the answer to his question, no, these guys, individual agencies can't do their own insurance, 401ks, those types of things. And I'm glad you tuned in, but an organization called the Office of Personnel Management that actually provides all the benefits for these two outstanding colleagues I have here, because they're civil servants. That's where that agency, you can reach out, touch base with my office, and I can put you in touch with some folks at OPM that could possibly talk about what their needs are from that perspective. Okay. And look, I want to thank Ms. Wood, Ms. Deborah Wood, and Mr. Gerald Sullivan, and Ms. Cheryl Michaels, who's part of the MBDA team, for being with us today. Any day we can get some of your time, because we know you're busy, to share with our colleagues and constituents is a great day. And a lot of great information. Clearly understand that, have a better understanding now of how one has to try to do business with you when they come in to go with your organizations. And we appreciate all the information you provided. And so I want to thank you again for being here and for all the, especially on the short notice, because this really was kind of a short one, Gerald. We know on the protocol standards, and glad Cheryl was able to work that. And Deborah, old school is better than no school. See all those electronics, that telephone still works, okay? And we got that information. So thanks again, and to everybody that signed in. Until next time, this is the Virginia MBDA Business Center, operated by the Capital Region Minority Supply Development Council. Me and my team, we thank you.
Thank you. Have a nice day.